663-1553 or 664-2992 or call our toll-free number 1-877-BB1. Diapers, pull-ups, hospital bills, wheelchairs, Simply Fit, diabetic supplies, underpads, and more. Your durable medical supply center.
Guess who's on JoyNet Radio? It's your girl Ella J with Coffee Conversations with Lakeisha. Coffee Conversations with Lakeisha is an interactive online daily devotional that rightly divides the Word of God. It's Kingdom, baby. Join us Monday through Friday at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's for weekday mornings, 5 a.m. at joynetradio.com.
You got it. Easy Rock's answer to your aggravation. Joy Network.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, welcome to the show. It's the Tuesday edition of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. Come on in, spread the word. It's Touch Somebody on Tuesday. Spread the word. It's Black Focus Radio. Alonzo and Jackie are already on Facebook. You can also catch me on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel as of yet, well, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and get that done. We're trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. We've got like 9 now. But we're on our way. You got to stay positive. So we will keep pushing that, and hopefully at one point we'll finally get on there. You know, I've got somebody on there subscribed that's from another state. I don't even know who they are, so that means they're watching. So that's a good thing. You know what we say here. It's our issues, our solutions, our voices. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 10. Excuse me. I was getting ready to give you the sports radio show. 12 to 2 p.m. The weekly sports magazine is on from 8 to 10 every day. On Saturday mornings as well. Robert Webb is going to be out today. He may give us a call in. But we've got tons and tons of stuff to talk about. No ifs, ands about that. So you make sure you stick and stay, and whatever you do, don't go away. We got a lot of stuff on the agenda today. Of course, we'll be talking a little bit about some of the things that went on yesterday and over the weekend. In fact, I'll go ahead and I'll reach you the tease here in just a moment. And we've got an interesting black fact to come up as well. You know, I love my black facts, and many of you all do too as well. And we're up to 10 subscribers now. Woo, doggy! We just keep on chopping wood, Dave. Just keep on chopping wood. So now we can can we get 11? Can I get 11? 11, come on, 11. Yeah, we need a couple of more subscribers here. So we've got 1% of what we need for our goal. So we're trying to get up to 1,000. So I need y'all to help a black man out. How about that? I'm feeling really good today because I finally got my wheels back. You know, I've been over the last 2 weeks. I don't know if you know it. Well, you didn't know it because I didn't say anything. Because I felt like if I had said something, I was just going to tear something up. You know how it is when you don't have your wheels, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I had transportation. I had a little fender bender. It only cost about $3,500 to get repaired. Yeah, I had insurance. You think I'm crazy? But my deductible was $1,000. Yeah, but again, the reason it was that way, what you all don't know, you save money on the front end because obviously, I haven't had an accident, man, I want to say in over 20 years. I haven't even had a fender bender in that long. And the higher your deductible, the cheaper your insurance is monthly, right? So I attached a $1,000 deductible, had a fender bender back in June. It took them a long time to go ahead and figure out what they were going to do. Once they did, it took them almost 2 weeks to get the thing taken care of. So they, look, I don't have that ghetto insurance. I have good insurance. They rented me a vehicle. Okay? Did you hear that? They rented me a vehicle. So I did have some transportation. And then, of course, they only give you a certain amount of days. So after those days ran out, then I was kind of like bumming rides and stuff like that. Then I got irritated. So I finally got my wheels back this morning. They washed it. They cleaned out the inside. It looks good. Got a brand new front headlight and everything. So in honor of my red Camry, I'm kind of sporting a little red and black today. You know what I'm saying? Got matching shoes on. So you better not mess with me. So I'm feeling a bit spry today, if that's okay with you. So that doesn't mean we don't have anything to talk about, because we've got tons and tons to talk about. Where's my manners? You need to call me at 855-525-5683 if you got something on your mind. Right now, I am posting the YouTube feed. Fortunately, this week, all of the feeds seem to have been acting correctly, so we haven't been running into any problems along those lines, and that's a good thing, trust me. So I'm happy about that. So we got a great black fact today. We will talk a little bit about the and if you listen to the Power of Justice, the show that was on before myself, you probably heard Roselle talk about the young man, the 10-year-old kid who was arrested for dodgeball. And I'm gonna tell you, back in the day we played, especially even at school, we played a game called bombardment. Okay, and man, over at Dunbar, woo, man, we couldn't wait to get to the gym when we knew bombardment was the next day. Oh man, you didn't miss gym during that time. I didn't miss gym anyway because I liked athletics. So, but we played bombardment and it was fun. So we will. I'll talk a little bit about that today. Of course, there was a shooting in Southern California at the Garlic Festival. I mean, who doesn't like garlic, man? I mean, garlic, it has health benefits. It has great seasoning for your food. Garlic bread, oh, man. Well, apparently a white terrorist doesn't like garlic. And, man, if they would have only built a wall. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well. Let's see. I'll also give you some information on why you should never throw your hard drives away. Okay? I'll tell you, if you decide to get rid of your hard drives, I'm going to give you information on how you should do them. And I'll tell you why, because apparently the Little Rock Parks and Recreation, they didn't take Computer 101. Now, I'm going to give you information based on, I spent 15 years working as a computer technician at Dell Computers. So I got a little insight on this right here. Oh, by the way, a white Jesus showed up in Kenya and got deported. And they arrested the pastor. Have y'all seen that on Facebook? Oh, we got to talk about that stuff, man. Oh, man. Well, I guess the pastor will be waiting on a miracle. The white Jesus will, he'll knock his shackles off, right? And Moscow Mitch, Mitch McConnell, Turtle Man, Turtle Dove, whatever you want to call him. He mad because every time, the Senate, or I should say the House, tries to put forth some legislation to, defend our election, our democracy, Mitch McConnell won't even bring it to the floor. So the Washington Post the other day, I think it was Dana Milbanks, who was the writer, said that Mitch McConnell was a Russian asset. And I agree with him, and I'll tell you why here in just a moment. So we got all of that stuff to talk about today. It's Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. right here on joynetradio.com. But before we do that, we got to do a little Black Facts.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our
All right, we're dropping knowledge, and hey, I really love everybody who tells me, man, you know what gives me the biggest thrill? That when I do Black Facts and someone will post on my Facebook feed or someone will see me out in public and say, man, I heard that Black Fact the other day. I didn't know that. Yeah, that really makes me feel good. So, yeah, we're doing Black Facts today. And I love this Black Fact. It's called Imhotep, the real father of medicine. Now, before I get into it, let me give you an image of Imhotep that you may remember. You've seen the movie The Mummy, right? Have you seen that movie, The Mummy? Pretty good movie, right? There was a name in that movie that when I first saw the movie, and that movie's been out for years now. It came out, what, in 1999, so that's been almost 20 years. Well, it has been 20 years. And one thing that annoyed me about that movie, and you know, it starred Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser. The villain in that movie, his name was Imhotep. Wait a minute. So when I saw that movie and they called him Imhotep, the fact that, see, I've been awoke a long time, I really became annoyed to the point where I refused to even watch the movie. Now, the reason I went to the movie was because at that time my son and my daughter was young, so I took them to the movie. It was a Disney movie. I thought it was pretty cool. But then I get in there and I get upset because they used Imhotep as the villain. He was some evil mummy. So let me just set the record straight, just in case y'all didn't know. Imhotep was the father of medicine. All right. Now, it wasn't Hippocrates. It was not him. You know, doctors take what is called a Hippocratic oath. That means you do no harm. That's what the Hippocratic oath is. All right. And doctors supposed to stand by that, regardless of what side that they're on. But, no, that's not right either. So the Greek physician Hippocrates is known as the father of modern medicine. But a black Egyptian, Imhotep, was practicing medicine and writing on the subject 2,200 years before Hippocrates was a gleam in his daddy's eye. I inserted that little part right there. I thought that was cute. Okay. In ancient Egypt, there was a medicine god known as Imhotep. Imhotep was a real person that lived in service to a pharaoh during the 3rd dynasty. Imhotep was a polymath, a genius in multiple subjects. He excelled in he was a mathematician, a priest, a writer, a doctor, and he founded the Egyptian version of the studies of architecture and astronomy. Y'all get that, right? So, did you hear what he just did? In a movie produced by Disney, they made him as a mummy and a killer. This is why you need to teach your children history, okay? Imhotep is credited with building the first pyramid created entirely with stone by human hands. The Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara near Memphis. And that ain't Memphis, Tennessee, by the way. The research team of the KNH, Center of Biological Egyptology at the University of Manchester, discovered the evidence in medical papyri written in 1500 BC to 1000 years before Hippocrates was born. Imhotep writings are generally considered the source that Edwin Smith Papyrus, the Egyptian medical text, which contains almost 100 anatomical terms and describes 48 injuries and their treatment. The text may have been a military field manual and dates to circa 1600 BCE, long after Imhotep's time, but is thought to be a copy of his earlier work. Scientists examining documents dating back to 3,500 years say they have found proof that the origins of modern medicine lie in ancient Egypt and not with Hippocrates and the Greeks. Classical scholars have always considered the ancient Greeks, particularly Hippocrates, as being the father of medicine, but the K&H research team findings suggest that the ancient Egyptians were practicing a credible form of pharmacy and medicine much earlier. When K&H compared the ancient remedies against modern pharmaceutical protocols and standards, they found the prescriptions in ancient documents not only compared with pharmaceutical preparations of today, but that many of the remedies had therapeutic merit. The medical documents, which were first discovered in the mid-19th century, showed that ancient Egyptian physicians treated wounds with honey, resin, and metals known to be antimicrobial. Wow. Imhotep is also touted as being the only ascended mortal in the pharaonic pantheon, an advisor to the kings, builder of pyramids, and paragon of knowledge who rose to become the god of healing and science. For 3,000 years, he was worshipped as a god in Greece and Rome. Early Christians worshipped him as the Prince of Peace. You get out of here. You gotta be kidding me. Let me say that again. Early Christians worshipped Imhotep as the Prince of Peace. Now, where have you heard that moniker before? Imhotep in ancient Egyptian is translated to mean the voice or mouth of Im. However, there is no record of a god in Egypt called Im. Many are familiar with the Im, the I am, Exodus 3:14. And God said unto Moses that I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am has sent me unto you. Unlike the Egyptian god Thoth, who is not generous with his knowledge, Imhotep insisted that knowledge was the only useful it is if it was applied for the good of all. His most important doctrine is that knowledge, science, and magic should be used to help humanity. Magic and the use of herbalism were the first forms of medicine, though Imhotep practiced surgery and cured people from over 200 diseases, ailments as varied as tuberculosis, gallstones, appendicitis, gout, and arthritis. He practiced dentistry and could look at the hair, nails, and skin and tongue and make diagnoses. Imhotep was practicing medicine and writing on the subject 2,200 years before Hippocrates, the so-called father of modern medicine, was born. Imhotep is generally considered the author of the Edwin Smith Papyrus, an Egyptian medical text which contains over 100 anatomical terms and describes 48 injuries and their treatment. The team also discovered prescriptions for laxatives of castor oil and colocynth and bulk laxatives of figs and bread. Other references show that colic was treated with hyacinthamos, which is still used today, and that cumin and coriander were used as intestinal carminavins. Man, I eat a lot of cumin too. Let's see. Further evidence showed that the musculoskeletal disorders were treated with rubifacients to stimulate blood flow and poultices to warm and soothe. They used celery and saffron for rheumatism, which are currently topics of pharmaceutical research. And pomegranate was used to eradicate tapeworms, a remedy that remained in clinical use until 50 years ago. Many of the ancient remedies we discovered survived into the 20th century, and indeed, some remain in use today, albeit that the active component is now being produced synthetically. Other ingredients endure, and acacia is still used in cough remedies, while aloes form the basis to soothe and heal skin conditions. Wow. I could go on. By the way, this is on my feed. You can go out and read this. You really need to go out and read this. Okay? But that's our Black Fact for today.
To Black Focus Radio for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people. On joynetradio.com.
Woo, boy, y'all learning a whole lot of stuff, aren't you? Yeah, you are. This is what I love about doing Black Facts. And as I told you, I was really ticked off when they portrayed Imhotep in The Mummy as some murderous mummy. Come on, man. This man, all the stuff that I described, I mean, there's more to this article. I mean, I could go on and on. There are 2 pages of this article. In fact, on this article, they have a clip of the mummy on here, which is offensive to me. So, and you heard what Imhotep said. You know, it doesn't make any sense, and this is particularly for black people. Okay, we learn stuff, and we don't share it with other black folks. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, let me read what Imhotep thought. Imhotep insisted that knowledge was only useful if it was applied for the good of all. Okay? So that means if you learn something, if you know something new, if you get to 411, what good does it do if you don't apply it to someone else, if you don't tell someone else? That's part of the reason I do what I do here. The knowledge that I learned, that book list that I talk about all the time, in part is because what good is all the knowledge that I have, that I've learned over the years, if I don't apply it in my everyday life and I don't try to teach one? That old saying, each one, teach one, this is what Imhotep thought. This is what Imhotep believed in. Okay? So we've got to do a better job in when we learn something. Look, when you learn how to make some money, look, let me tell you something. You can't make all of it. Why don't you help another brother and sister make some money? Okay? When you learn some information about anything, we ought to be sharing that information. You know, to some extent, other races do that. Other minorities do that. We talk a lot about how Hispanics and Arabs, they come over here and live in one house for 2-3 years, save up their money, and then before you know it, they're buying up all the service stations. And y'all mad, wondering why we can't buy service stations. That's because they learn knowledge, they share knowledge, and they help each other. That's why Imhotep was so great. And that's why they don't want you to know that it was Imhotep who started all of this stuff. I mean, did you hear what he did? He just wasn't the father of medicine. Come on. See, y'all think that you can only do one thing. You all think that you can only do one thing. Man, your brain is a computer. You only use 10% of your brain. Do you know that? You only use 10% of your brain power. So don't tell me you can't do multiple things. Don't tell me you can do it. You just have to train yourself to do it. Okay? I mean, this guy built pyramids. He built the first pyramid. Man, what else? Architecture, medicine. He put together therapeutic preparations for medicine. Man, Imhotep was a bad boy. And don't y'all ever, you know, I have not watched The Mummy since. If you've got The Mummy right now, throw that piece of crap out. Because what it's doing is brainwashing your children to believe that Imhotep was some evil person. Okay? Let me just read this paragraph again, and I'm going to shut up about Imhotep. Because of all the Egyptians that I studied and became familiar with, Imhotep is my favorite. Okay? Imhotep is also touted as being the only ascended mortal into the pharaonic pantheon, an advisor to kings, builder of pyramids, and a paragon of knowledge who rose to become the god of healing and science. For 3,000 years he was worshipped as a god in Greece and Rome. Even early Christians worshiped him as the Prince of Peace. How could that be possible? So, you know, when I hear someone say the Prince of Peace, you know who I think about? I think about Imhotep. I don't know who y'all think about, but I think about Imhotep. That's just me, dog. So that's our Black Fact for today. Man, go out and read this article, man. If you're not familiar with this, it will blow you away. You're exactly right, Jack. It is enough for everybody. We're the only ones that like to share important information among each other, that don't share important information among each other. And it's sad. We need to. All right? And that's part of the reason I do this show. I like sharing information with you. I like telling you stuff that can empower you. I like hipping you to the latest so you can be down with the greatest. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I like doing this show. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but right off the bat, while it's on my mind, and I apologize, there are a lot of stuff, you know, I write those teasers, and oftentimes I don't get to a lot of that stuff. So yesterday I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and then this morning, after listening to the show before me, The Power of Justice, and by the way, I recommend every Tuesday and Thursday that you check out The Power of Justice with Rizal Aaron. He's doing a great job. I've trained him up, and he's doing a great job providing information for all of our people. But he talked about the little boy, the 10-year-old kid that has been arrested for assault for playing a game of dodgeball. Okay? So when I first read this story the other day, I thought back. And I remember us playing dodgeball. Y'all remember them big old red balls? They were full of air. We used to play a game in Dunbar called bombardment. Okay? And you would choose sides. And the half-court line, you couldn't cross. And they would line about 20 balls of those big red balls on the center line. Okay? And then what they would do is, Coach Goss, I believe it was Coach Goss, they would blow the whistle, and well, what they would do is they split the teams up, and you would have to go and stand up against the wall on either side, depending on what team you were. And then they'd blow the whistle, and you had to run to the center line and grab a ball. And then you would take that ball and you would throw it at the other team. Okay? Now, obviously the winner was the last person that was, or the team, when you knocked all the other people out, you were the winner. That was one iteration of dodgeball. We played dodgeball in the backyard too. And I remember we played bombardment. Man, some of those guys got some nasty little blows. You get hit in the head, the face. You know, some of the white guys who would get hit, you know, because they were white, if you got hit in the face or you got hit in the back, it would leave a mark, a little red mark sometimes, depending on who was throwing the ball. Now, me personally, I was an athlete, so I enjoyed, I had a pretty good arm. Growing up at that time, I played catcher. Speaking of which, shout out to Daryl Mason. He kind of reminded me that we played, back in the day, he played for Pioneer Printers. And Daryl Mason used to try to run me over when he'd come to home plate. And those were probably, y'all know Big Meat, right? Daryl Mason was a big guy. But I stood my ground, and that was probably the beginning of me being a football star. But anyway, we would play bombardment. Now, when we play in the neighborhood, now we even played dodgeball with a frisbee. Now, some of you young people may not know what a frisbee is, okay? It was by Whammo. In fact, I went to look for a Frisbee the other day because I'm looking for a black one of the professional Frisbees. I used to love throwing Frisbee. We used to play Frisbee golf. They call it disc golf now. Frisbee is a trademark by Whammo. I don't think Whammo even exists anymore. But instead of calling it a Frisbee, because Whammo owns a trademark, they call it a disc, a flying disc. But we would play dodgeball with the Frisbee. Man, I know guys who got hit in the head, got hit in the eye, and them Frisbee would leave a mark. Okay? They would leave a mark. Okay? So, but because the whole point is that you had to throw the ball or that object fast enough and hard enough so the person that you were throwing at couldn't jump out of the way. No one ever got charged with assault. And there was sometimes girls would play. And you know, the whole thing was you always got the girls first. Because many of them weren't as athletic as some of the boys. Okay? I remember my neighbors, Chris Perry and Chauncey Perry, are very good friends of mine. It was great to see them again. Once I moved back, I got to meet them about 2 years ago. Grew up right across the street from me. We used to play dodgeball and frisbee dodgeball in their backyard all the time. We played baseball. Man, we did some of everything as kids. So my point, and look, there were times when people got hit with the ball. You know, when I was a Little League baseball coach, the one thing that I would tell those kids, I said, look, the first thing you're going to have to understand if you're going to play this game is that you're going to get hit with that ball. And it's going to hurt. So the sooner you get used to getting hit with that ball, the better baseball player you'll become. Okay? I even tell people, I teach people how to swim. And the first thing I tell them that if you cannot put your head underwater, I can't teach you how to swim. Okay? Because that's a basic component of it. So when you're playing dodgeball, you understand that you're going to get creamed every now and then with that ball. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. If you're playing dodgeball, you're going to get your clock clean every now and then. Especially if it was someone like me who was a catcher growing up and I had a good arm. Yeah, I'd take you out. Okay? So I'm a little confused here as to why someone would arrest a 10-year-old boy for playing dodgeball. Okay? For playing dodgeball. Now, fortunately, as of this morning, now this happened in Washington, D.C., but fortunately, as of this morning, the Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General says a 10-year-old boy who was handcuffed. Now, check this out. They actually handcuffed a 10-year-old boy, and you know what color he was, right? He was black. Okay? They actually handcuffed this 10-year-old boy and took him to jail and booked him on aggravated assault because the person that was playing dodgeball with him apparently wasn't athletic enough, and he got creamed in the face with the ball. Yeah, if you've ever played dodgeball, you know what I mean by getting creamed in the face, right? You know what I mean by getting creamed. Dodgeball was a staple for us growing up. Okay? It was a staple. And how it used to work, when it was like 5 or 6 of us from the neighborhood, you'd be about 20 yards apart. It would be one guy on one end, another guy on the other end, and everybody else would be in the middle. And you had to dodge, man. And when you got hit, you had to go to the end, and you had to be a thrower. So everybody got their chance to throw at someone and cream someone. So I don't understand why the police would have even arrested a young man simply because he was playing dodgeball. That doesn't make any sense to me. Look, that's what Jen Fields is on. Hey, Jen, how you doing? She says, you could get your head knocked clean off with that dodgeball. Exactly. In fact, Will Ferrell made a great movie about dodgeball. It was a great movie about dodgeball. Y'all remember that movie with Will Ferrell? Or was it Will Ferrell or was it Ben Stiller? He was in that movie. It was a great movie. So why the heck are police wasting taxpayers' dollars by arresting a 10-year-old kid for playing dodgeball? I told y'all some of us played dodgeball with a Frisbee. That's hard plastic. And you get hit with that Frisbee, man, that hurts. All the dodgeball would do, it would leave a mark. So apparently, as of this morning, the Washington Attorney General has said, and by the way, they handcuffed the kid and took him to jail. I mean, that's just piss poor. But you know what? You know who the victim was? The victim was a white kid. So the black kid, you know, when you charge someone with assault, that means that that's intentional. When you're playing a game, it's almost like, you know what? If you're going to follow that logic, you ought to be arresting everybody that plays football on Friday night. All those junior high school kids, those middle school kids that play football. Every time someone makes a tackle, you ought to arrest him. You ought to have police line up around the football field that whenever someone tackles another kid, that's assault. He should go to jail. No, that sounds stupid, doesn't it? Of course it does, because guess what? It is stupid. Come on, man. Dodgeball? Really? And you're going to handcuff the kid? You're going to handcuff the kid? But fortunately, the Washington Attorney General had a little common sense here. In fact, I hope he chastised the police department. He says a 10-year-old boy who was handcuffed after an armed robbery is totally innocent and will not be charged. At least someone in D.C. had some common sense. You better be trying to sign your boy. You better be trying to sign your boy, okay? I had to throw that out there. That's our illustrious leader trying to throw his little cowboy mess on my... Come on, man. Ruin my show like that. Video of D.C. officers putting handcuffs on the boy near 5th and 8th Streets Northeast on Saturday sparked outrage on social media. He is not resisting. A woman can be heard yelling in the background as an officer walks the boy toward a cruiser in handcuffs. That is not okay. A boy reported to police that 3 children assaulted him and took his cell phone at gunpoint about 4 p.m., which was not true. Okay? Police, the 2 children said the 10-year-old boy and a 13-year-old boy were positively identified as being part of the robbery. That's another story altogether. I don't know where that came from. But the point being is that the young man is not going to be charged. Okay? That's just crazy. His mother, Shakita Williams, said, I just had to cry. It just hurt my feelings so bad to see my son put in handcuffs at age of 10. Williams said the experience traumatized her son. He couldn't sleep. His mind was just rumbling. Police previously said they didn't realize at first that Williams' son was so young. Now, that part is what irritates me. Because you're telling me that you could not look at a kid and see that he's 10 years old? Are you telling me that? See, that goes with the argument that white police officers look at our young men as grown men, and they're willing to do anything to them, shoot, arrest, and kill them because they are afraid of them. And you're afraid of a 10-year-old kid? Come on, man. Well, at least the issue has been resolved. The unfortunate thing is that this young man was taken to jail and apparently booked. It's going to stay on his record. Dodgeball. He got arrested for playing dodgeball. You know, I saw a video the other day about this guy, and he walked around with 2 super soakers. And anytime he would see somebody, and I thought it was funny, anytime he would see someone walking down the street, whether it be male, female, black, or white, he'd run up to that person and throw the other super soaker at them and aim his super soaker at them and challenge them for a super soaker fight. And many of the people would pick the Super Soaker up, strangers, and they would be on public streets having a Super Soaker fight. Wow, did he know that he could be arrested for assault by spraying water on someone? That's absurd, isn't it? Yeah, I know. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me, man. We have lost our minds, haven't we? We have lost our minds. I know. We have. All right. LaTanya Grimes just logged on. She's trying to program my show. We are going to talk about them here in just a moment, Tanya. Just hold your horses, okay? Let's see where we want to go, because I want to save a lot of this for the next hour. Oh, let me go ahead and talk about this. Have y'all seen the video of the pictures of the white Jesus in Kenya? You know, when I've told you all over and over again that white supremacy has affected the entire world, and it affected Africa the worst, because that's where it began. So apparently a preacher in Kenya decided to hire a white guy who looks like, what's the guy's name? Caesar Borgia? Because he didn't look like Jesus. Because if we go by the Bible, we know that Jesus was nowhere near white. The picture that some of y'all still have in your houses or in your churches is by, his name is Caesar Borgia. Okay? I believe he's like the cousin of Leonardo da Vinci, because da Vinci was the first one to paint a white picture. He was commissioned by a pope to paint a picture of Jesus. And he used his cousin, Caesar Borgia, as the model. So this preacher went out and decided, I guess he was trying to prove a point, that he wanted to have Jesus come to his church. So he hired this white model. And it was all over the internet. I mean, all over Facebook a couple of days ago. And I was just shaking my head. A lot of people were ripping it. And rightfully so. Because if you believe in the Bible, then you got to believe in all of the Bible. And we know everybody in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, were black. Everybody. Okay? So how is it that y'all still walking around with a picture of a white Jesus? I don't get that. And how is it that a minister can hire a white Jesus to come to his church and have people fawning over him like he's the real Messiah? Well, apparently that minister has never read his Bible. And that's what I tell you all, is that y'all got to start reading your Bibles. Y'all got to start asking your ministers questions. Stop sitting there like a bump on a log and saying, hey, whatever he says is what he says. But apparently the Kenyan authorities decided that they were going to deport the white Jesus. I'm wondering, when they deported him, did he like walk on water back to his home country? I don't know. Did he say, peace be still? But not only did they deport the white Jesus, they ended up arresting the pastor. And rightfully so. See, they have charlatans not only in America, but they have them in Africa too. I've seen some other mess from Africa. There was one black preacher. What did he do? There were so many. There was one black preacher who, he said that he had Jesus's phone number. Really? Why would Jesus need a phone? Really? Take it easy, man. He had Jesus' phone number. They arrested him too. Then there was another one that was selling some water that he had gotten in his bottle. And he said that he got it from Jesus. Really? Yeah, white supremacy has affected this entire world, folks. I just thought that was crazy. But it goes to show you that you got to start using, I had a teacher who say, David, use your head for more than a hat rack. You got to start using your head for more than a hat rack, folks. Okay? Because look, if you don't do your history, you'll fall for anything, folks. And that's what we're doing. There was another one who said that his sperm, he was actually impregnating women, and he was saying that his sperm was a blessing from Jesus. There was another guy who had African women line up on a beach, pull their underwear off, get out on all fours because they wanted to have a baby, and he said that if he touched them, he would bless them. And then I saw the funniest one to me was this lady who was promiscuous. She wanted to get married. So the guy had some water in a spray bottle, and he was spraying it on her private area in hopes of cleansing her so that she could be prepared for marriage. Whew. Lord have mercy. Man, y'all better wake up, man. I'm telling you. Y'all better wake up. These folks out here, they is something else. They is something else. If you don't stand for something, that old saying, you will fall for anything. And some of y'all are falling for a little bit of everything. And that's sad. Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That's why that thing that I did about Imhotep at the beginning of the show for Black Facts is so important. There's too much information out there. And not only that, there's too much access to information out there now for us to be walking around as if we're dummies. For people to be pulling the wool over your eyes and you're taking it as the gospel. Come on, folks. We got to be bigger and we got to be smarter than that. Okay? So, coming up next hour, we're going to talk a little bit about Little Rock Parks and Recreation. Have y'all not heard about what's going on with Russ Raycott? Russ Raycott was on the show last week, and of course, if you hadn't heard, he did a Freedom of Information Act, and the Parks and Recreation sent him a whole hard drive with personal information on there from employees. Stuff like social security numbers, addresses, phone numbers, pay scales. Now, if Russ would have been a bad guy, boy, he could have caused some damage with that information. Amazing. 855-525-5683. What's up, Fahim? How you doing? By the way, Fahim, I'm going to be in Nashville for the John Mayer Classic. Hopefully we can hook up and have a glass of Kool-Aid. But yeah, next time we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to tell you, how do you get rid of a hard drive? And it's not what you think. Okay? Because some of you all are throwing out your hard drives and you don't realize that your data is still on that hard drive. All of your information. Look, I don't know, within the last 8-9 years, I've had probably about 4 different computers. Okay, that's cool. Fahim, we're doing business on my show. Fahim, send that to me via DM. All right. But I have all of those hard drives. In fact, even in my bag right now, I carry around hard drives. I have a hard drive. So let's say, for instance, if my computer crashed right now, I would still be able to get my computer running because I have a hard drive. Okay? So next time I'm going to tell you how to get rid of your hard drives. In other words, don't. And if you do get rid of them, there's a certain thing that you need to do. Even your phone. All of you all are going out and buying these brand new phones. You don't understand that your data is still on those phones. And if you don't dispose of those phones properly, then guess what's going to happen? If they refurbish those phones, or if someone knows how to pull the data, guess what? You will end up with your data. This is part of how you're being hacked, a lot of you all. Don't just turn your phone over to the phone company. Oh, I got a new iPhone. I got a new Google phone. You better make sure that you clean that phone off. And there's software that you can buy. But the other thing is, there are other things you can do. And I'll talk about that here in the next hour as well. But for whatever reasons, the Parks and Recreation sent Rush Raycop a hard drive thinking that it was empty. And come to find out, although that data was not seen by the naked eye, it only takes a few keystrokes to pull that data from your phone. Remember, I've told you all, I worked for Dell Computers for 15 years. And one thing I've told you all as I talk about computers on this show is that your data never goes away. That's why I tell you, don't be posting stuff on Facebook and thinking that, oh, and then when you delete it, it's gone. No, it isn't. It doesn't go away. I've been telling y'all better listen. It doesn't go away. That data is somewhere stored on someone's server. But y'all don't get that. Having a computer is not a game. It is serious business. And if you're not careful, you will end up on some Russian blog. So we're going to talk about that in depth next hour as well. We're also going to talk about the white terrorists that shot up the Garlic Festival. That's pretty pathetic. We'll get into that next hour as well. Also, what you don't know, in Memphis, in South Haven, Mississippi, it's right outside of Memphis. When I first moved to Memphis, I took a young lady home from the job that we were working at, and I didn't know, went down Horn Lake Boulevard, and before I know it, I was in Mississippi. Now, I'm one of them people, I don't like Mississippi. I'm gonna be honest. The only thing I do in Mississippi is tunica. But it's just that close to Memphis. And apparently at a Walmart in South Haven, Mississippi, there was an active shooter at a Walmart. 2 people were killed. A police officer was shot. But they do have the suspect now in custody. So now you can go to Walmart and get a little bit of everything, even dead. And I don't mean to be facetious, but that's ridiculous. By the way, there were police already there. They didn't stop that crime. You know, they say if you have police presence, you stop the crime, right? Well, they didn't. So are we saying now that when you go in Walmart, you're going to have to go through a metal detector? Is that where we're heading now, folks? Really? Is that where we're heading? Man, I hope not, man. Come on. Let's be real about that. Oh, God. So we'll talk about both of those items next hour. Let me make sure I've covered everything for this hour, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this hour and get back into some more serious stuff. But by the way, please go out and read that stuff about Imhotep. Oh, before we wrap up, let me go through a couple of interesting laws that are going to take place. Tell you what, we'll just hold those off until, let's see, July 24th on Wednesday. There were some new laws that took place in Arkansas. Let's see, there's an abolition of abortion, prohibits there's another one that prohibits discrimination for Down syndrome. There's an 18-week abortion ban. Let's see, veterans obtaining concealed weapons carry. I'm not going to go into all of these. Prohibiting sanctuary cities in Arkansas. That's a Republican law right there. Okay. Let's see. There's another one. Supporting DACA immigrants in in-state tuition. Hemp-derived CBD. Prohibitions on advertising. The laws that restrict So let's see, the law adds restrictions on how medical marijuana can be advertised. So you can't advertise pot and say, oh, this is fire, come get some. Let's see, Daisy Lee Gaston Bates and Johnny Cash statues at the U.S. Capitol. Yeah, just take all them Confederate statues out if you don't mind. Let's see what else. I mean, there are quite a few that are going into effect here. Let's see, prohibiting spoofing robocalls. Y'all know what those are. Evidence concerning religious sermons. What is that? The state and local government may not compel a religious leader to turn over a written or recorded copy of a sermon or testify regarding that sermon. Well, that's free speech. What else is new? Okay. Sexual assault collection kits. The law establishes requirements for the kits as well as the testing requirements submitted to the state crime laboratory. That's a dirty little secret in a lot of states, that when they take these sexual assault kits, a lot of them never get tested. Prohibits sex offenders from participating in Halloween. Let's see, paid cancer leave for firefighters. Freedom of Information Act exemptions. Now that's interesting. This law will exempt the undisclosed and ongoing investigations of ABC Control Board and Enforcement Division. Establishment of entertainment districts. This will allow cities to establish an entertainment district that can be either permanent or temporary. So we're going to put all the strip clubs in this area. Little Rock doesn't have a lot of strip clubs, so y'all don't have to worry about that. Penalty for misrepresenting an animal as a service animal. So, you know, if you got a pet gerbil, you can't put him on a leash and put on blindfolds and take him on a plane and say, hey, this is a service animal. Okay? You just can't do that. Okay. Let's see. An act to end child marriages. Really? You finally got around to that? In other words, you have to be 17 in the state of Arkansas to actually marry, unless you get emancipated and your parents give you permission. Safe Haven Act. Let's see, what else? Is that it? And let's see, National Day of the Cowboy. On the fourth Saturday of every July, Arkansas will celebrate its cowboy heritage with National Day of Cowboy. There are other laws. Those were just a few that I looked at. And by the way, I wonder if the state legislators knew that the majority of cowboys were black. And had they known that, would they have passed that law? Hello? 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. We're going to go out and take the top of the hour break. We'll be back in a moment. We're certainly going to talk about Donald Trump and Representative Cummings. But, you know, I wouldn't be that upset about that. We know Donald is a fool. All y'all got to do, y'all sick of it? Take your butts out to the polls and vote. That's how you do that. Back in a moment. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. On joinnetradio.com.
Law firms cannot offer. Our experienced attorneys have brought hundreds of cases to verdict in state and federal court and recovered millions for our clients. If you or a loved one have been injured or have property wrongfully damaged, we may be able to help. Do not hesitate to contact our firm anytime for a free attorney consultation. Call 1-800-848-1290. That's 1-800-848-1290. Or email inquiries at arkansas-personal-injury.com. Our law offices are centrally located at 212 Center Street in Little Rock. That's the law offices of James F. Swindoll, personal injury and products liability attorney serving Arkansas since 1977.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas to connect with a family-owned and operated service provider in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they provide. Cremations, funeral planning, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we're needed. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
Hi, this is Alvin from Habibi's 4317 East Broadway in North Little Rock. We still have the green top at your very next stop. The same great service, but more on it. Give us a call, 501-663-1553 or 664-2992, or call our toll-free number, 1-877-HABIBI-1. Diapers, pull-ups, hospital beds, wheelchairs, Simply Fit, diabetic supplies, underpads, and more. Your durable medical supply center.
LeBron James is the greatest player we've seen this generation. You have to be careful when you start saying, he wasn't as good as Mike, or he wasn't as good as Matt. Every generation you get that. You begin to sound like that old man that lives down the street, and every time you walk on his yard, or you even walk by his yard, he's on the porch, and he's got that little purple finger, he's like, get off my lawn! Get off my lawn! Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on joynetradio.com. Get off my lawn! You got it. Easy Rock's answer to your aggravation. The Joy Network.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, the surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, welcome back to the second hour of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. I was looking for some updates on this Walmart shooting in South Haven, Mississippi. Suspect is in custody. Apparently, the guy who did the shooting was a disgruntled employee. Couldn't get that day off, huh? And I was looking for a name. Y'all know why, right? And they haven't released a name. We'll hold our breath on that one. Let's see if they let us know, how quickly they'll let us know. Because, we've realized, we understand. Now, I don't know one way or the other. But in past circumstances, typically, when something like this occurs, if they don't immediately release the name of the suspect, what does that mean to you all? That typically means that that suspect is white. Okay? That typically means that. Now, the stories, and I was quickly going, I only had 3 minutes, but the stories that I go to didn't list a name for this disgruntled employee that shot up the Walmart. And I'm going through, and I've quickly went through 3 or 4 different newspapers, and it's probably out there on one of them. But so far, I have not ran across a name. If you all are out there and y'all do have a name, let me know. Post that for me, and I want to look up a picture of him. Because, and this is something that you all have to, look, if it's gotten to the point now where you can't even go to a Walmart and take your family. We know it's hard going to schools and festivals. Then isn't it incumbent upon your legislators, both state and federal, to put in place laws? You all, before the top of the hour last hour, at the end of that hour, you heard me go through a lot of different new laws that went in effect on the 24th of July. Now, one of them had to do with guns. The guy who shot up the Garlic Festival in California, he's not old enough to buy liquor, but he was able to go and buy AK-47, which is what he used to shoot up that festival. And instead of using a pronoun, let's tell you his name. Okay? His name is Santino William Legan. 3 people were killed, including a 6-year-old boy. And apparently he cut through a back fence. Maybe if we would have had a wall out there, maybe he wouldn't have been able to get through, right? But here's the interesting thing about it. The Gilroy Garlic Fest shooter plugged a white power manifesto on Instagram. Might is Right is a book that dates back to the late 1990s and has become a staple in white supremacist canon. In other words, this is one of their Bibles. Might is Right. So clearly this guy was a white supremacist who decided that, I don't know, what could you have against garlic? Who decided to go and shoot up a festival? Police said the gunman had been shot and killed, and that authorities suspected he may have had an accomplice who was still at large. Although authorities initially did not reveal the identity of the shooter, local news station KPIX reported he was 19-year-old named Santino Legan. Police recovered a backpack filled with ammunition at the scene, and they later searched his home and a second location. Okay? Little is known about this guy, though witnesses claim to have heard him say he was really angry while he was opening fire on the crowd. There's no such indication as to his potential motive for the shooting. While his social media platforms appear to have been deleted as of Monday morning, one post on his alleged Instagram read, Garlic Festival time. Come get wasted on overpriced blank. And I added the blank. Another post on the now deleted Instagram included, now let me ask you, if this happened over the weekend, who's deleting his Instagram post? Another post now deleted included a picture of Smokey the Bear sign advocating for forest fire prevention, with Legan writing in the caption, why overcrowd towns and pave more open space? Let's see where to go. Where's it go? Why overcrowd towns and pave more open space to cater to more room for hordes of mestizos and Silicon Valley white twats? Really? A 19th century text known by an unknown author. Its origins have been attributed to everyone from British author Arthur Desmond to Call of the Wild novelist Jack London. Might is Right has long been considered a key text in the white supremacist movement. Hello? It's widely popular and present among ethnocentric white nationalists of all levels, from suit and tie white supremacists to neo-Nazis. The text, which has been banned in multiple countries, essentially advocates for social Darwinism, or the idea that members of certain races or ethnicities are inherently better equipped for survival than others. The author argues that true egalitarianism does not and cannot exist, and that the white race is inherently biologically superior to other races. Hello? Hello? You know, I wonder if Donald Trump has come out and offered his condolences for the people in California who was killed by this white supremacist. I'm just wondering. You know, because this is the same president that went after he enjoys going after black people. You know what I hoped, I wish Representative Cummings would have told Donald Trump, yeah, man, you can stand behind that podium in the Secret Service and talk noise all you want. But anytime you want to go toe-to-toe, holler at the black man with his punk ass. Amazing. Oh, and by the way, Republicans, here's another 19-year-old kid that went out and bought, he can't buy a beer. He can't buy a shot of tequila. In fact, legally, he can't even buy, because in California, marijuana is legal, he can't even buy marijuana. But he can go out and buy an AK-47. Something's wrong with that. Now, don't get me wrong, because I know some of you are out there say, oh, see, Dave, he's one of those gun haters. No, I love guns. I have guns. I believe in the Second Amendment. You know what? I believe in the Constitution. You all know I carry a Constitution around in my bag. In fact, I carry 2 copies in case I need to give one to someone. So I certainly believe in the Constitution. It is certain people who think that other people should not be afforded the same rights and privileges in the Constitution, they being Republicans, or repugnants, as I call them. But they hadn't done anything yet. How many more people have to die before Republicans decide that, hey, look, something's wrong here? You know, it was the Republicans who decided that they wanted to pass legislation so that they could keep the donor list secret from the NRA. I don't know of many nonprofit organizations, because from what I understand now, I believe the NRA is a nonprofit, or supposed to be a nonprofit organization. Anything that they do, their donor list, any grants, should be for public perusal. Now, I thought they were nonprofit. I could be wrong. So I'm going to lay this one at the Republicans. I'm going to lay it at the feet of Donald Trump. Because we're seeing more and more and more of white supremacist attitudes, white supremacists as a whole. They're not out of the closet anymore. They're parading down our streets. And it's gotten to the point now where y'all need to put up a shut up. And I'm not talking about the white supremacists. I'm talking about you all who claim that you are against white supremacy, who believe that white supremacy is bad. I'm talking about you white folks. I've told you over and over again that black people and minorities cannot stop racism. This is your baby. You created it. You put it in your text. You preach it in your religions. You lied about Jesus in the Bible. You propagated a picture of Caesar Borgia as an image of Jesus Christ when the Bible clearly said that his hair is like lamb's wool and his feet is like burnt brass. Now I can't show you my hair on my head, but look at my beard. That's kind of like lamb's wool right there. Now I do a little, I add a little stuff to it, kind of make it, smooth and soft. And then here's my skin. That's like burnt brass. Look at that. That sure doesn't look like Caesar Borgia. None of these white churches have come out against Donald Trump and his bigotry and racism. None of them, look, even the ones in Baltimore, when he attacked Elijah Cummings, who was from Baltimore, Maryland, where were the white churches? Now, the black people stood up, but I didn't see anything. I hadn't seen anything from white churches in Baltimore. White ministers. At what point are you white people are going to get tired of racism? Because I will tell you that black people are already tired of racism. We've been tired of racism. At what point do white people, white ministers, white elected officials, white people in general, your white friends, get tired of racism? At what point? Because there is no positive end to this. Because if you all are running around, see, white supremacists are looking for the days of yore. You know what I mean by that? They're looking back in the 40s and the 30s when they were running around with sheets on. Now they don't have to run around with sheets on. They've got one in the White House, so they can be open. But still, their mentality is that, hey, those black people are just going to lay down. We can do anything we want to them, and they're not going to do anything about it. And to some respect, they are right. Because many black people are afraid to do anything. They won't say a word. We got black preachers right here in this city that refuse to support the protest against Charles Starks. If nothing else, do you want a radical cop on the police force that goes around and killing people? I don't. But black ministers won't say anything. So what's the point? Y'all think that black people are just simply going to roll over? I'd rather be buried in my grave than to be a slave. Hello? I wouldn't have been a good slave. There'd have been a lot of dead masters. So here we are again. What's the over-under on when it's going to happen again? Do y'all know? Because you know it's going to happen again, right? And you know that there's going to be some white supremacists, some white supremacists that's going to walk into somebody's church again, or going to walk into a black event and shoot it up. You know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Because every day now with this racist president, they are getting bolder and bolder. You know, they bought into this logic that white people are superior. You remember at the beginning of the show, y'all remember who I read about, right? Y'all remember who the Black Fact was, right? The Black Fact was about a guy named Imhotep. He was a black guy, the father of medicine. Tell me again how y'all superior. Tell me again why you can't build a pyramid without having all these fancy tractors and bulldozers and cranes. You know, Imhotep was one of the people that was responsible for building the first pyramid. He didn't have a crane. He didn't have a bulldozer. He didn't have a tractor. And those stones were cut precisely to measurement. They didn't have a stone cutter. They didn't have a jigsaw. They didn't have diamond cut blades that were powered by an engine. It was done by their hands. So where do you get off, white supremacists, thinking that you are the superior race? You know that old saying that if you tell a lie enough that people will begin to believe it? Well, they've been lying to you. And what is upsetting you now is that all of this information is available for the regular people, particularly black people, to go back and read for themselves. No longer do I have to say, man, you need to listen to brother. He know what he's talking about. I don't even say that anymore. I tell you to go read for yourself. So how is it that you figure you're the superior race? How is it that you figure that you are better than me when you came from me? When you came from my DNA, how do you figure that? You know the Eve gene, that was a black woman. Every human being on this planet came from who they are calling Eve. The Eve gene. Every black woman, believe it or not, carries the Eve gene in her DNA. Every black woman. Not white women, black woman. So how you figure you're superior, dog? Where you getting this from? You've been sold a bill of goods that is NSF, insufficient funds. So you figure you can kill your way back into superiority. No. Sorry, dog. Black folks got guns too. We ain't going back. It's not going to happen. So what you all need to decide real fast is how we going to work this thing out. Because black folks ain't going back. It's just not going to happen. How we going to work this thing out? Because we got to fix this. Because this ain't right. You think you're superior. Look, how is it if you're so superior? Why is the world 3/4 people of color and there's only 1/4 white people? But you're superior? Why is it that by 2042 you will be a minority in this country? But you're superior? How is it that if you killed every black man on the face of this earth, and he was of child, and long as he was healthy, and you left one black man on this face of the earth, he could repopulate this entire world with black people? That doesn't work for white people. That wouldn't work for a white man. But you're superior? I want you to understand something. It is important for you to understand, particularly my white friends and my so-called white friends, and even the white ones that are looking at this video on the sly, because I know you watch. I know some of you watch every day. We can get along as brothers and sisters, or we can perish as fools. But I guarantee you, the okie doke that you put on our ancestors and you sold them a bill of goods that a white Jesus was their salvation, it ain't going to work on us. It ain't going to work on us. We know the real deal. There are too many of us out here who know the real deal now. There are too many of us who are spreading information amongst our people and educating our people. And although many of them are resistant to what we're talking about, many of them are listening. And all I need to do is get you to listen. And then I need you to research. Because I tell you, don't believe what I say. I'm not sitting here as some oracle to be all, to end all, to know all. Stuff that I talk about on this show is stuff that I've done research on. So if you doubt what I'm saying, go out and read it for yourself. Go out and read your Bible that you read every day. And don't read it from a religious standpoint. Read it from a historical standpoint. And begin to ask the questions. Who were these people? Where did they come from? If you remember when the United States invaded Iraq, many of the Christian artifacts were in Mesopotamia. Y'all remember, you read your Bible, right? They mention Mesopotamia in the Bible. Why was it in Iraq? Because Iraq is in Africa. What are y'all reading? Are y'all, they used to tell me when I read the Bible, you must read the Bible with for understanding. And you must pray for understanding. What are y'all praying for and what are you reading? Many historians use the Bible as a historical book to pinpoint some of the tribes of Israel. Hello? See, because if you all knew that, y'all be saying the same things I'm saying. Y'all be saying, no, we ain't going back. We're not going to be fooled again. Y'all will be saying the same things that I'm saying. Y'all will be ripping down those pictures of a white Jesus in your churches and your homes, and if nothing else, putting up a picture of a black Jesus. I remember in 1969, the Ebony magazine posted a picture, an image of Jesus, and he was black. Go out and Google it. And did you know that Ebony magazine called more hell from black preachers and black people than they did white people? I remember when I was doing my research and I was reading about Dr. Louis Leakey. Dr. Leakey was one of the famed white anthropologists of his time. And when he first went to Africa and they landed on the continent of Africa, his first trip to Africa, he bent down and kissed the ground. And the people around him reached for him as if to say, ask Dr. Leakey, are you okay? They thought maybe he had fainted. They thought maybe he had fallen. And he said, oh, I'm okay. And they were asking, well, why are you kissing the ground? He said, because this is home. This is where it all began. This was a white anthropologist. See, the information is out there. See, in order to become aware, you must seek information. You have to use your head for more than just a hat rack. You got to use your head for more than just watching soap operas and Power. Your children are failing because they don't know who they are. Because they've been subjected to white supremacy just like you have. And white supremacy says that you are from nothing. You are from, the only thing that you're from is a slave. And some of y'all are bought into it, not understanding that, look, those people that were slaves, prior to becoming slaves, they were doctors, architects, lawyers, kings, queens. Y'all don't understand that. You all don't understand that white supremacists have done such a job on us that we refuse to even shop at black businesses. We are the only people that boycott our own businesses. And you don't even know you're boycotting it. Let me ask you a question. Think about it, and you don't have to raise your hand. Just say amen lights, and they'll want to know I'm talking about you. When was the last time you shopped at a black business? Now, some of you all that are listening to this show, y'all are supporting the black business by listening to the show. I applaud you. But that's what white supremacists have done. And they think because that they've used white supremacy all over the world, that they think, I'm loving what's going on in South Africa. The South African government that is now black is taking land back from the Dutch colonists who stole that land hundreds of years ago. And some people would say, well, how was that fair? Well, was it fair when you invaded that country and raped and pillaged and stole the land? They were doing it in Zimbabwe, and then they got another president, and he gave the land back like an idiot. and then paid him for it. He's still infected with white supremacy. We ain't going back. You know, at the end of the show, I'm going to read Claude McKay's If I Must Die, because it's certainly appropriate. Some of y'all don't even have a book in your house by a black author. Let me say this again. Some of you out there don't even have a book in your house written by a black author. And you wonder why your children are not doing well. I read a story early in the show about a 10-year-old boy, a black boy, simply being arrested for playing a game better than a white boy. Because that's what happened. The white boy got hit with the ball. It was dodgeball. The black boy played it better than the white boy. His parents decided to go and send him to jail. Hey, I want him arrested for assault. And guess what happened? Police came and arrested this boy for assault. We ain't going back, folks. We ain't going back. 855-525-5683. If you do nothing else, go and read that piece on my wall about Imhotep. If you do nothing else, go and read that piece about Imhotep. And then what I want you to do, go and pull up the movie The Mummy. Because remember, the power is in the media. I can change your mind based on what I put in your head. So if your children every day are watching images of black people that are drug dealers, that are criminals, and they never see any images of black people. You know, when I first went to Atlanta, you know what I loved about Atlanta? I lived in Atlanta for about a year, I think it was about 88 or 89, somewhere, and I've forgotten, it's been so long ago. And you know what I loved about Atlanta at that time? That when I was downtown, I see black people in suits. I see black people, especially black men, in briefcases. If I go in a building, I see black people sitting behind desks and running companies. Loved it. The images that you put forward in your child are the images of how he or she will view himself. Go out on Facebook right now, not Facebook, but just Google black children and black dolls, and watched in shock and horror how when they put a black doll in front of a black child, that black child calls it ugly. And these children are 3 and 4 years old. They put a white doll in front of that child, and they say the white doll is the pretty doll. Now, where do they get that from? This is why I tell you, if you're spending a lot of time and your children are watching a lot of TV, therein lies the problem. Because TV is the tell lies vision. TV is the most powerful weapon that has been used on the black community. Because all of the images that we saw growing up, particularly in my generation, was black exploitation. They were pimps, they were gangsters, they were hoes. We rarely saw images of positive black people. Yeah, we did have Julia. We did have Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. But prime time, there were images of negative stereotypes of black people. So what I would advise you to do, that if you have children, particularly young children, for the first 5 years of their life, you should not let them watch television. That doesn't mean you can't use the television as a tool, That means now you can plug in games, you can plug in music, you can plug in movies that will accentuate and celebrate the black image. If you don't have books in your home that shows black people in a positive light, then you're doing your children a disservice. I've told you over and over again about the stories of my children and how I used black images growing up. I told you about the series, unfortunately, that is no longer in print. All of the fairy tales that was written by Fred H. Crump, Jamoko and the Beanstalk. Well, you know what? That book was actually Jack and the Beanstalk. Even Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, all of those fairy tales, Fred H. Crump redid those fairy tales so that all of the people in those books were black. Rose for Zamira, Beauty and the Beast, The Ebony Duckling, Sleeping Beauty, A Retold Story. All of those books I had for my children to read. We did not read white authors. You know why? And some people, oh, that was racist. Why don't you let them read white authors? Well, there's a reason why. They're going to be inundated with white stimuli plenty of times as they grow up. It was my job as a dad, as a parent, to make sure that I instilled in them the power of blackness. And I must admit, it worked. I look at my son today and how much of a powerful black man that he is based on him knowing his history and his culture. Many of you all have seen the picture of his wedding. If you notice, a couple of those pictures, he's wearing an ankh. I talk about my daughter, who is a clinical psychologist who works within the inner city in Chicago. She could take her knowledge and go anywhere and work for any white organization, but she works with and for black people. I've told you about the story of Mufara and his beautiful daughters, that book, and how she called me and told me how she was thankful that I read her that book when she was a child and reinforced the fact that she was beautiful as a black girl. You're going to get enough stimuli in the white world. It's Mufaro, not Mufasa, Latanya. But she said you can get that at the Mosaic Templars. The story is about a king who has 3 daughters. And I would read that book to her every night before we went to bed. And the story was that, hey, Mufaro, his daughters always tried to catch him to say one was beautiful, more beautiful than the other. He never did. They all were beautiful in their own way. So folks, it's up to you. It's up to you. We're not going back. And you got to start training your children up. Mufasa. I'm laughing at you, Latanya. Mufasa is the Lion King. You got to start training your children up, my brothers and sisters. You got to start raising them from the... look, let me tell you something. If you're young right now and you just had a baby and that baby is an infant, you know what you ought to be doing to them right now? You ought to be reading to them. In fact, I used to read to my children when they were still in the womb. Dude, it works. It works. One other quick point, and I'll leave this alone. You know, At the time when my son was being born, was in the womb, I was taking computer classes. I was taking trigonometry and calculus, algebra, things of that nature. I was going to school. So when I would come home, I would open up my calculus book or my trig book or whatever I was studying at the time, and I would actually read algebraic equations to my then wife's stomach. You know what my son likes today? Mathematics. Now my daughter, I would just read to her. You know what she likes? She likes to read and write. I'm telling you, folks, I'm not telling you to do something that I have not done. It works. Train up a child to which he should go, and thus he will never depart. Don't get me wrong. If we spend as much time having them go to church as we would reading to them, our children would be phenomenal. Think about what they have to go through every day. And they still excel in spite of all the obstacles that are ahead of them. Even you as a child, you had obstacles ahead of you. But look at you now, you still exceed those expectations. It is important. Now, let me do this real fast. I told you that I wanted to tell you how to get rid of your hard drives. And let me tell you why this is important. Russ Raycop, who has been on the show, a friend of the show, who is a thorn in the side of public officials in this city. They don't like Russ. I don't agree with everything Russ Raycop does, but here's the bottom line. Russ does a good job on exposing the improprieties that goes on in this city government. I don't care for some of the name calling he does, but overall, I respect and I appreciate Russ Raycop. That's why you hear him on this show periodically. So apparently Russ Raycop submitted a Freedom of Information request, and I'm not sure what he was requesting, and to the Parks and Recreation Department, and they sent Russ Raycop a hard drive. Now that was peculiar in itself. And when I saw the picture, I'm saying, why did they send him a whole hard drive? And they told him he could keep it. That was really weird. Because if you had a legitimate IT person, in fact, if I were the city, if I were the mayor, I would fire my IT person right now. Because an educated IT person would know that you cannot be sending hard drives that you use in your job to people. Let me tell you why. Okay? And I'm going to try not to nerd out on you, but let me just tell you why in a nutshell. That even though you delete something from your computer, let's say you got a naked picture. Let's say you did a video with your husband or your boyfriend, and you said you decided to delete it. Well, you know, it never deletes. It never deletes from your system. It actually is saved in a batch file on your hard drive. And it can be recovered with the right technology. That's every hard drive. Now, there are commands that you can use, and there is software you can use to clean your hard drive and delete those files. One of them is a debug. But even still, as long as I worked in the computer industry, and let me tell you, I worked for Dell Computers as a computer technician for 15 years. Even if you do a debug, the person with the right software can pull up those files. So anything that you delete, I've told you all over and over again, it never goes away. So the information that was on this hard drive was city employees' phone numbers, social security numbers, pay scales. Any information that they needed about employees was on this particular hard drive. Now, when you initially look at the hard drive, none of that information is on it. But if you have the right software, you can very easily recover all of that data on that drive, even though the drive might say it's blank. So what was the city thinking? What was the IT department thinking? What was the Parks and Recreation department thinking that they would send a hard drive to a citizen? That boggled my mind. That person should be fired. Because now you've compromised the data of I don't know how many former and current employees of Little Rock. Doesn't make any sense. And I was shocked when I saw that story. And Russ gave me a heads up because I knew the story was about to happen. That doesn't make any sense, folks. So those of you out there, let me just tell you all, if you want to get rid of data on your hard drive, there's only one way you can do it. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show that I probably have 5 or 6 hard drives sitting around, well, they're not sitting around my house. They are in a secure location. Because I can still, even if that hard drive is clicking, click, 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 click. Some of you all who have been around computers, y'all have probably heard hard drives going bad. They typically click. What that is, think about it from this perspective. Those of you who know what an old phonograph is, if you grew up in my era, you know what a record player is, right? It has a record. It's a flat disc. It has an arm that has the needle on it. That's what your hard drive looks like, except it has different stacks of platters, as they call it. And what that hard drive does, it has a needle, and when it writes or reads, that needle is clicking, and you can usually see that hard drive is running at 7,200 RPM. That needle is reading that data at 7,200 RPM. That's a fast hard drive. There are some that are even faster. And after a while, that needle or that arm inside that drive starts clapping on that platter. And you can hear it. That's when you know your hard drive is going bad. If you ever hear that, then you better save your data immediately because you're going to get a crash. And it might not be recoverable. Now, let me be honest with you. All hard drives are recoverable. All data on hard, I just told you, it's recoverable. Now, we used to recommend companies that when people would call and say, oh, well, my hard drive crashed, I got some critical information, I need it recovered. We would recommend companies to recover that data. And depending on how much data they had to recover, they would charge you $100, $200, $300, $400, $500 to recover that data on a bad hard drive. How's that possible? Because remember, that data is still on there. Now, I just gave you a quick computer 101 class about how hard drives work. Now, the only way you can get rid of your data on a hard drive, you can't. But you can do something to that hard drive. I'll tell you that here in just a moment. But remember, I've told y'all, I tell young people all the time, be careful of what you post on Facebook. I'm going to tell grown people, be careful of what you post on Facebook, because that stuff never goes away. It never goes away. You may not have heard the term Iron Mountain, but Iron Mountain, there are Iron Mountains in various regions across this country where companies send data to those areas for storage. You know, today, money is made off of storage, information. Where do they store all that data? Why is it that I can go back and pull up an article that was written on a website in 2012. That's because a snapshot of that article has been taken and it is being saved. And I can go back and pull up stuff from years ago that you couldn't at one point, because it's saved in various locations on servers. Remember, that data never goes away. So when you're posting those naked pictures, even when you're sending naked pictures via Instagram or Facebook, or maybe through instant messenger on your phone, it is still being snapshotted and saved on a server somewhere in the United States, and probably in other foreign countries as well. So don't do that. So here's how you get rid of that data. If you post it on the internet, you can kiss it goodbye. You will never get rid of it. It doesn't go away. How many times have we seen a story where someone has went back and did some research on a congressman, a senator, a preacher, a teacher, or whomever? Something that happened 10 years ago. How'd they get that? Because it's saved on a server somewhere and they knew how to research to get it. So here's how you get rid of a hard drive. You get a hammer. You set that hard drive on a concrete surface, and you take that hammer and you beat the hell out of it. You beat it to pieces, literally. And then you take those pieces, not all of the pieces, you take those pieces and you throw them in as many different trash cans as you can. So here's what I would do. The hard drives that I've destroyed, you can also drop them in acid, but I wouldn't recommend that. But the hard drives that I've destroyed, I've taken 7 full days to throw the pieces away. I would throw a little bit away on one day, a little bit away on another day, and then I got to the point where I wouldn't even throw them away in my trash can. I would throw a little bit away in my home trash can, then I would take them somewhere else, and I might be driving down the street and I would have those pieces of that hard drive in a plastic bag, and I would drop a few out on the street. Sorry, I littered. Or I would be driving across the bridge and I would throw a few pieces in the river. Y'all think I'm kidding, don't you? I'm not. I told you I was a computer technician for 15 years. This is how I got rid of bad hard drives that I use. Now I just keep them. Because I have so much data, I might need to go back and get it. But I'm to a point now where if I hadn't used that hard drive in 3 or 4 years, I destroy it. That's what I would recommend you all doing. If you call a computer technician and he says, oh, you got a bad hard drive, you're going to need a new hard drive. Well, guess what? You're going to have to buy a new one anyway. You know what you should do? You should tell him, I need that hard drive back. I want that old hard drive. Don't allow him to repair it, because quite often they can refurbish those hard drives. Because most of the time when hard drives crash, it's not a mechanical issue, it's a software problem. You've gotten a virus that has caused your hard drive to crash. So they can refurbish those hard drives, and you know what they do? They refurbish them and then they sell them to other people. And those other people have your data on that hard drive if they know how to pull up that data from the batch files. So when he gives you that hard drive back, go and get you a hammer. It don't matter what kind you have. I kind of like the ball peen hammer myself. It's got that little knob on it, so if I have to hit someone upside the head, it works great. Get you a hammer. Take that hammer. Go out on your sidewalk or your front porch, if you got a concrete front porch, and beat the hell out of that hard drive until it's in a million pieces. And then you collect those millions of pieces. And by the way, when you beat it, it'll open up and you'll see those little round platters in there that I was talking about. Then you take that hard drive and those millions of pieces and you simply distribute it in trash cans across the city. Man, I've traveled and I've taken hard drive pieces to California and threw them away in California. Yeah, you said dog days. You paranoid. No, I just don't want people getting my data. Okay? I've told y'all that there's a reason why I won't sign up for them little cards at the service station. I don't want to be in your database. But y'all just go right ahead. Okay? All right, we got to get out of here. Hope you enjoyed the show. But before I go, I promised you that I was going to read one of my favorite poems by one of my favorite poets, Claude McKay. If we must die, let it not be like hogs hunted and pinned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. O kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave? Like men, we'll face the murderous, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. Y'all have a great show. Y'all have a great day. Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on deported.com. You got it. Amen. Brought to you by the Joy Network.
Y'all have a great day. Thanks for listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, Dan, I got to get over there and see you, man. I've just been busy. And then, of course, my car has been in the shop. So,
Whew.